Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mid-Ohio in the latest round of the Radical Esports Cup in the final season of 2025. We're officially over the halfway mark now. Week 7 it is of another iRacing season. We'll be with you every Friday until the start of December, when this season finally draws to a close. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Ron Miles with you in commentary, with Romeo Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras, as always, on a Friday night. And we return to the United States, Ron, for the first time in a few weeks, to the Mid-Ohio racetrack, which is, a sort of in-between track. It's certainly not a Grand Prix circuit, but not one of the tighter ones either. It's going to be an interesting one at Mid-Ohio today, a circuit that is maybe not so well known by the European side of things, but a little bit more so in North America.
Oh, this track is synonymous with American racing. From sports cars to open wheel, Mid-Ohio has hosted some absolutely amazing events over the years. One of the only tracks, in fact, the only track that I've been to from the entirety of this calendar in real life. It's in the middle of nowhere, slapdash between in Mid-Ohio, between Low Ohio and High Ohio. This track is really odd. You brought up a great point there, you, and how this track has a mix of everything. You got those long flat out blades, you got the really tight, twisty, and technical sections too. This is a really fun racetrack, and certainly a venture off into the unknown for these competitors. I don't think in my entire time covering this series we have run at Mid-Ohio, but really looking forward to seeing what sort of racing we get at this track here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Andreas Friedrich is currently leading the championship. He's got currently 134 points. Is that right? 44 points, sorry, over Havard Gullikson, who's in second. Peter Eveny is not that far behind. Heinz Braun and George Gonzaga are next, and Sully Redson not very far behind him. Andre Castro, Paki Caruso, James Barry, Ryan Odo round out the field. You get a lot of points per week in this series, by the way, so don't be concerned that it is over 100. This, though, is a lot closer. This is our RaceBot TV standings from just the races we've broadcasted over the last 6 weeks, every Friday, 2100 GMT, of course. Havard Gullikson is now the leader with 78 points. After his second place last week at Zandvoort, he slipped ahead of Andreas Friedrich. And Andre Castro had one of his worst races of the season so far, other than the ones he's not been at. He finished down in 8th and so slips to 3rd in the standings. Peter Eveny and James Barry have a bit of a gap back to them. Heinz Braun and Sully Redson are actually not that far behind, with Sebastian Lipke and Berend and Paki Caruso rounding out the field. They haven't been at very many rounds so far this year, or at least haven't been scoring points in very many. 29 degrees Celsius on the racetrack, that's 85 Fahrenheit, and only 13 in the session here, Ron. It's not been taken up particularly across the board, so it's been quite difficult to get into this session. That means, though, it's a high quality field, because Chris Wetz is the slowest of the drivers so far, and indeed the worst ranked of the 13 drivers as well, but he's still a very decent driver, as we know, and has a top 10 2 weeks ago in our broadcasted races as well.
Yeah, so a little bit surprising to see some new names pop up here, because this does have a bit of importance this week. We talked about it a little bit last week at Zandvoort. Both of the Radical European and Radical Americas Championship season finales are going to be held this weekend. The European Championship, I believe, will still be running at Zandvoort, as I went to last week before it got delayed because of the Formula One Grand Prix being held around the same time. However, the Americas Championship going to wrap up their season at this racetrack a little bit later on this weekend. In fact, on Sunday, it would be at least on my side of the Atlantic for you, and I guess it would be very early on Monday morning. But nonetheless, we're probably going to see a lot of competitors turn up this week, not even just to try and get it in with the track in the case of the European competitors, but to get the juices flowing. We usually see these top running drivers in that European Championship run here in these officials. I mean, you look through the list: Peter Eveny, Havard Gullikson, Kettle Larson, George Gonzaga, Andreas Friedrich, who are following right now, Sebastian Lipp, your race winner last time out, but he's still got some competitors in that America's Championship. Jared Dunkovich, one of the top running racers in the AM class, and Ryan Odo looking to try and contend for that championship in the pros. Pretty strong field that we've got here in this series. May not be large here in this split, but it is certainly potent.
And over the line, Heinz Braun did get his lap in time. I thought he was run out of time there, but he did just about get his time in, so there we go. He moves up to the top 5. As we're about to see in this grid, ready at Mid-Ohio, Andre Castro with the best time in the number 1 car. He's in front of Peter Evenik with Havik Gulliksen and Gatil Larsen on row 2. Heinz Braun and Jared Dunkovic then on row 3 with that very late lap time putting Braun into 5th. George Gonzaga and Andreas Friedrich on an all-inert e-racing team row 4 ahead of Sebastian Lippmann. Ryan Odo, who's here in 10th position. Enrico Trenti is 11th ahead of Denis Kyriakopoulos, then Chris Wetz, who's at the back of the field. I mean, again, another show of the strength, by the way. Ryan Odo's in 10th position in this qualifying session. There's so many signs of that strength all throughout the field, but Andre Castro looking to bounce back from last week with a strong result here, and he started it with a pole position.
Yeah, you always have to keep an eye on Andre Castro, a driver who I'm going to have to look back, but I'm pretty sure he has driven around this racetrack in real life, so keep an eye on him to maybe impress in this race coming up.
Lights coming on from Meadow High when we're ready to go in week 7 here on iRacing, and it is underway. Not a great start from the front row from Peter Evening, and immediately he's going to be swallowed up by Havik Gulliksen, who gets into 2nd. Gatil Larsen's going to try and do the same in the light green on the inside as well as they weave on the way towards turn 2. Andre Castro leads the race in front of Gulliksen. Evening at least keeps 3rd. There goes Heinz Braun steaming down the inside of Larsen, and there was a little bit of contact between the two as they came round the keel for the first time.
That could have been so much worse, though. I am staggered. Those two cars are still out there on the racetrack, still running in a pretty darn good spot indeed, as Heinz Braun occupying the final spot inside the top 5. Tries to go for the move, though, again around the outside, but he's going to spear off the track into China Beach. He's going to go.
And Heinz Braun off into the gravel. He's got quite well. Very nearly came straight back onto the circuit in front of Chris Wetz and Kyriakopoulos there, but they got away with it. And Heinz Braun drops to 13th. Heinz Braun, by the way, in our standings is 6th place currently. He's only been outside the top 10 once in the 6 races we've had so far, but unfortunately, that might be another one of those tonight. We'll wait and see as Castro brings them through the final section for the first time and leads this race, but we'll see how hard Gulliksen pushes him in this race. It was close in qualifying, and so far close through lap 1 as well.
Yeah, Vard Gulliksen always a top running competitor in this series. As we take a look at that moment for Heinz Braun, just carried way too much speed in at the end of the back flat out blast. Goes for a ride off into China Beach and actually impacts a wall there too. That may not seem like too much, but in these aero-sensitive radical SR10s, that damage could be a huge detriment for him between now and the checkered flag. So keep an eye on Braun to maybe fight back even with that damage front end.
Here comes Gulliksen in the back straights. Maybe the problem with this circuit that it could be a little bit difficult to overtake, even coming down towards the big braking zone at turn 4. Pretty deep on the brakes there from Castro though. And oh dear, I heard some bits of contact in the background, and it's clear there was a lot, with Gonzaga, Dunkovic and Enrico Trenti all dropping to the final 3 positions in the race. Heinz Braun's immediately back into the top 10, weirdly, even after his trouble on lap 1. We'll see a replay in a moment of this incident, and here it is indeed. What happened here? Dunkovic goes too deep. Oh, Gonzaga follows him, and they hit each other. And then Trenti must join them, I suppose. And there you go, joins him at the very end. They all just got that wrong at the same time. Very unusual.
Yes, I'm trying to think now. That's 4 drivers that we've had miss the braking zone, hang down to turn number 4. Fitting, I know. Heinz Braun, George Gonzaga, Jared Dunkovic, and Enrico Trenti all missing their marks quite severely heading down in there. The thing with these SR10s, and I talk about this a lot on these broadcasts, but there's a lot of truth said in just that makes these cars super tricky to drive. The brakes are so tough. There's a super fine margin of error between either pulling up to the turn and carrying the right amount of speed through it, or locking up all 4, or even just overshooting the turn by a country mile. Just saw some of the top running racers in this series have that mistake. Heinz Braun, really quick competitor. George Gonzaga, he is very familiar with these SR10s. He's been doing these races longer than I've been broadcasting them. Dunkovic, meanwhile, we know him to be a very talented racer, and Trenti, top running competitor and making this top split race. All of them making that mistake heading down into turn number 4, which is usually a pretty tricky braking zone by itself, but throwing cars that are super tough on the brakes, and you really have a combination that would best be compared to peanut butter and tuna.
Still 3 for the lead, still 3 less than a second apart at the moment as they come across the line at the end of lap 3. 3s for Andre Castro. He leads again. Just to give you an idea of his results, by the way, this season, he didn't appear at Nordschleife or Imola round 2 or 3 for our broadcasted races, but he won at Mosport the opening week of the season. He won at the Algarve as well the week before last. And he was second in Belle Isle to Harvard Gullickson, who's right behind him now as well. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, in our standings, they're only 4 points apart. Effectively, if either of them were to win here tonight, they would be the championship leaders, with Andres Friedrich down in 6th place at the moment. He'd be losing points just a little bit, but it's nice to keep track of who's doing well in our races, Ron, and it seems that Castro and Gullickson, to an extent Friedrich, are certainly doing the best. And obviously helped by the fact they're here every week, but they're doing well when they are here as well.
Yeah, not only consistently showing up, but consistently being quick. That's the name of the game for all of those competitors. Speaking to the driver that Andre Castro is, last season was Italian. I think it was like 5 or 6 wins that he had throughout the 2100 GMT broadcasting races from season 3. Part of the reason why he probably would have been the championship in our standing format, and most certainly was the champion in the official series. Got that title. That's now made it 3 for 3 thus far this season in terms of different champions. We had Harvard Gullickson win the championship in season 1. Season 2 was won by Rafa Blando. Season 3 was won by Andre Castro. Let's see if Castro can break that streak and become the first driver since James Barry back at the end of 2024 to win back-to-back official series championships here in the Ryder Boys Sports Cup.
Good exit there from Castro, just as he was coming under pressure into the keel. He gets a good exit, and Gullickson won't be able to dive from back here, I don't think. He has a look, and he's thinking about it, isn't he? He's thinking a lot about it, but he cannot do it. And Peter Even, he's just got the best seat in the house at the moment. Interesting line taken by Castro there, I've got to say, through turn 4 and into 5. Just helps protect the inside line at turn 5. There's no benefit really to swinging out wide, because it's not a very long run towards turn 6 either, but interesting the way they can do those corners a bit differently. See if Gullickson can do it so differently as to get alongside Castro at any point, or whether he's just going to have to follow him all the way home. Sure, he's going to give it a go at some point, but that moment has not yet arrived.
And so plenty of opportunities for that moment to arise, as we're only 5 coming to 6 laps into this 19-lap long race. To capitalize the best, we'll just have to find out, as we got the 3 up the front, the 3 right behind. Castro, Gullickson, and Peter Eveny battle for the podium, as Kyle Larson, Ryan Oda, and Andres Friedrich duke it out for some of the final 2 spots inside of the top 5. Such a deep talent pool in this split. I mean, hey, we speak about last week and your winner of that race at Zandvoort, Sebastian Lipp. He's slotted in 7th, pretty much a midfield driver in this split. Shows you how talented these drivers who run in these SR10s really are. As our RaceSpot TV colleague Jared Gregory always says, master of this car will make you better in just about everything that you drive. That's part of the reason why these racers always choose to run it. It's a driver's car, this, and it's a driver's track, and look at that. Ryan Odo trying to drive around the outside of Larson.
Ryan Odo, what a move that is. Oh, and there's contact. Just a little bit of contact. Larson gets a little bit unsettled as a result, and through goes Andres Friedrich into the top 5 again. Friedrich will be able to take that all the way home, by the way. That would be 6 top 5s in 7 weeks that we've done in our broadcasted races here. Into the top 5 he goes, but it's up to contact with Odo and Larson. And Ryan Odo did a great job to go around the outside at 4 to get the inside at 5, but it so nearly went pretty badly.
Oh, that was so close to absolute catastrophe. The problem with Mid-Ohio, I say it's a problem. It's a problem when you're trying to go side by side, is the fact that this is an old school racing facility. This is not one of those modern racing marvels where they've got extravagant facilities. Really, even on the IndyCar side of things, it's pretty much the closest thing that we have to a blast from the past racetrack on the IndyCar calendar. So these racers trying to go side by side all through the tight and twisty second half of the lap, once you get out of the back straightaway, is so tough to try and go side by side, get those moves done, and more importantly, do it clean. This is an official series, so these racers do have to worry about those incident points somewhat, and make sure they can keep their safety rating up high, make sure they can keep their I rating up high, so they can continue to participate in these top split events. But just trying to get a move done clean here at Mid-Ohio is a heck of a lot easier said than done.
It's quite wide from Castro, but he's got that line absolutely nailed there through turn 9. It's pretty dangerous because he gets very close to the grass, and if he just gets it wrong by an inch or two, he'll be wide, but and off in the grass, and at least to 3rd, maybe worse. But he's got it absolutely nailed, and it helps him to just stay in front at a moment where he comes under big pressure from Gullickson, who seems to be a bit better through the S's and the couple of corners before that. It's not quite as close in this time round, as we have crossed a third of the way through this race already, by the way. Question remains, can Gullickson find a way through? I mean, Ryan Odo has shown that overtaking is not impossible by any means. It's hard, but not impossible. So far, Gullickson hasn't even really been able to get side by side.
And Havard Gullickson, quick racer in these SR10s, so the fact that he's struggling, I wonder if he's maybe saying, you know what, let me just keep it clean and get a little bit closer to the end, and then I can try and apply a bit more pressure. I wouldn't necessarily blame him if that's a strategy that he tries to take here at Mid-Ohio. I just mentioned the challenge of the circuit, and you look at it, I mean, you can just tell based off this somewhat dated scan of Mid-Ohio, must be said. They have repaved this track entirely in the years since, but you can just tell by looking at the facility, it is not some sort of modern racing marvel. So you don't have the width of many of the other tracks that we have visited up to this point in the season. I mean, hey, looking back at the calendar, I think the only track that we could probably compare it to, there's actually been a couple. I would probably say you can best compare it to a track that's not too far away from this, but Belle Isle. That street race was really tough for racers. They just want to keep it clean and be there at the very end, and they decide, you know what, let me just try and run in a line and just keep it on the road.
Yes, it's a very, very tricky layout and a tricky scan of it as well to deal with. Gullickson gets really close through the keyhole here, but he's just not got the exit. That's what Castro's got at the moment, the traction on the exit of turn 2 and turn 9, as I was talking about earlier. But the disadvantage that gives to Gullickson, because by the time he's in the slipstream and starts to gain, he's just too far away, and it's going to have to be a massive lunge from back here. So I do wonder what Gullickson can do about this. Does he change his line through turn 2 to try and get a better exit, or does he even try and make the pass into turn 2 or down the hill here, where he's always climbing over the back of Castro in the lead?
I gotta wonder what sort of mindset these competitors have as they head their way up through this section of the racetrack. I'm sure they're probably not happy about just following the leader, so to speak, because, I mean, you know, we have seen so many SR10 races where these competitors are just throwing bare-knuckle fist fights. Well, having bare-knuckle fist fights and throwing bare-knuckle fists at each other from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered. So I think these racers just heading their way off through the tight twisties, they're probably battling their cars more than they're battling themselves. I mentioned that this SR10, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a difficult car to drive, but it's one that can bite you very quickly. It does not take well to small little mistakes. If you make a small little trip up, hit a bump in an odd way, this car will spear you off the road rather quickly. So I think the main battle for these drivers is just battling with their cars instead of battling with each other. So that could be the reason why it's been a rather tame style of racing up to this point.
Or is Gullickson going to shake that up now by going to the inside or outside? Castro constantly is on the left-hand side of the road coming towards turn 5, though, and so you're never going to get round the outside through there. This is further back in the pack, as Enrico Trenti was trying to get past Jared Dunkovic here into turn 5 last lap. He made a bit of side-to-side contact, and then there was contact with Dunkovic on the inside. It's a hard corner to go side-by-side through turn 5, to be fair to Dunkovic, but it does look like he was the one on the outside going into Trenti. Maybe, to be fair, the 8 car came down on him. It's hard to tell from there.
It's a little bit tricky, but either way you slice it, those two drop it down even more from the rest of the pack. It's unfortunate, but Dunkovic, quick racer in these SR10s. Keep an eye on him come time for the season finale for the Radical Americas Championship that you'll be able to catch this Sunday night here on RaceSpot TV. But we have got ourselves some good battles to talk about. Still want to quickly bring up the battle that you see at the back of this camera shot as we continue to follow that top 3. Ryan Odo, Andres Friedrich, and Kettle Larson. Those 3 racers were packed in like sardines not too long ago. Now about a second separates all of them, so Odo has started to drive off into the sunset. Keep an eye on him, another America's competitor, to maybe try and sneak a victory and maybe sneak a potential championship in that race this upcoming Sunday. For now, though, these competitors still trying to give us a good battle to talk about here. We've talked about the challenge of Mid-Ohio and how there's only really been one racetrack like it this season in the form of Belle Isle. But looking through some of the past seasons that we have had here in this championship, Ewan, I can't really remember the last time that we had such a challenging, bumpy, and twisty, and really undulating, which is certainly not a word, race circuit. It's an oddity to see these cars running around here.
Undulating, I guess.
I was never good at school. You can tell.
I mean, I never used that word in school either. I mean, Mosport, I guess, is something like that. You know, we've seen some ups and downs so far in this season with regards to the circuits, but it is a unique one here at Mid-Ohio. And what we're learning from this battle for the lead, it's pretty difficult to overtake as well. Not too many battles, in fact, there aren't any other battles going on further down. Heinz Braun is stuck behind George Gonzaga, but that is almost the same as this battle, only for ninth, not first. So you're not missing anything further down the field. These are the big three who are fighting at the front, and 2/3 into this race, we've still seen no change. Castro able to keep Gullickson at bay, and as it stands in our own standings, he would take a championship lead ahead of Gullickson by just a single point. So these are the big two as far as the points and indeed this race are concerned, and they're still nose to tail here, although not side by side. They haven't been for the first 12 laps.
Yeah, so running patient, running clean, and running smooth here at Mid-Ohio. We'll have to see who's going to be the first to try and break that. Will it be Gullickson or will it be Castro maybe having a slight trip up and giving Gullickson the opportunity to go side by side? We'll note that I have seen Andre Castro with a little bit more blinking out than I have seen him in the past. I mean, we've seen a whole lot of Andre Castro as a recent year in this series. Kind of started off as a part-time competitor, perennial race win contender whenever he would show up. Then he really started to try and contend for the championship. Of course, won the overall official season championship last season, and always going to show up there on the racetrack whenever he can. This is the first time that I think I've really seen him blink in and out. I'm not sure if you caught that yourself, Ewan, but I certainly did, as that's Heinz Braun with a little bit of lawn mowing coming out. One wiped out some poor traffic cones and auto-crossing spheres. I think that would probably be plus 10 seconds on his time.
It's just getting frustrated, I think, being stuck behind. Oh, and he spins! He saves it out of turn 2 at least, but he spins a halfway round and he keeps 10th place. Chris Retz is not close enough to benefit. As I was just saying, he's overdriving the car, trying to make that pass for 9th, getting frustrated in the dirty air of Gonzaga, and there's the mistake that nearly sent him all the way around.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't talked at length about the challenge of turn number 2 yet. So tricky in all types of race cars. Could be in a sports car, could be in an open wheel car. Could very well be an SR10 as well. And just saw that there from Braun as the track falls away from you heading through that section. If you don't have the rear end of that car perfectly in tune, you're maybe going to be in a bit of trouble. And plus, in these cars where you can spin up the rear tires so easily and loop it out of heavy acceleration zones, turn 2 is pretty much everything these cars don't want to do on a racing surface. Unfortunate for Braun, series of mistakes piling up. I think it hit the nail right on the head. You and talking about the level of frustration growing behind the wheel of that number 4 car. He's been oh so close to victory over the past season and a half here in the Radical Esports Cup. Has put on some brilliant defensive drives to hold on to the race lead for an extended period of time. However, he's never led the lap that matters the most. We have seen a great improvement from Heinz Braun, just haven't seen that step up into race win contention yet. Emphasis on yet.
No, not yet. As I mentioned earlier, it's been in the top 10 at least of all but one of the races so far this season, the ones we broadcasted, that is. We've got a 3rd place finish at Mosport, a podium place finish this season so far. But unfortunately, 10th place at the moment is Heinz Braun. As they get 5 laps to go when they cross the line next time. I have a feeling as well that Gullickson has just got a couple of attempts further back even in these last couple of moments. The gap for Andre Castro becoming even more comfortable at this stage in the race. Not that there's no pressure on him, there certainly is quite a lot of pressure on him, but he's certainly looking comfortable under that pressure for now.
Yeah, he has not cracked yet. I say yet, it's Andre Castro. We have seen him under pressure cooker situations before, and we've never really seen him crack too badly, so keep an eye on Castro to try and just bring this one home as we get into the closing stages of this race. This is a wild track, has seen some pretty bizarre moments in racing history as well, and one of the odder ones happened in that exact part of the racetrack many moons ago. It was, I believe it was Joey Hand, who at that point was racing in a BMW, actually clipped one of the shortcuts, make one of the shorter configurations here at Mid-Ohio, hit either that or an access road as he went went off through the dirt and somersaulted in that race car, and I'm not sure if you've ever seen that clip. I'll have to send it to you at the end of this broadcast if you haven't, but it is a pretty wild moment in the history of Mid-Ohio.
Well, absolutely. It does have some history as well, this racetrack, going back down the years, over the course of the last, 60 years now, I guess. Nearly 60, over 60 years rather, at this venue. This time round, the Radical Esports Cup coming to town as they get 4 laps to go at the end of this one. Andre Castro still controlling, still comfortable out front. Peter Eveny in turn has not been able to get anywhere near Gullickson, and initially I thought that was because he was letting Gullickson sort of get on with the job of trying to pass the leader. If he tried to overtake Gullickson immediately, then Castro would be a runaway race leader, but you wonder now whether Eveny is struggling with the same thing that Gullickson is, of a lack of overtaking, as Heinz Brunn has been caught by Chris Wetz. You imagine his tyres are still pretty warm after his half spin earlier.
I can imagine the tires are pretty hot racing here at Mid-Ohio. That is actually a pretty good segue into terms of talking about the other track conditions that we have here in this race, since it is getting farther along in the fall. You'd usually expect this track to be not necessarily say ice cold, but rather chilly, but the forecast actually based in spring in 2026, so we'll get a good weather forecast in the future at Mid-Ohio. So I guess on April 1st, on April Fool's Day of 2026, it'll be rather mild at Mid-Ohio, highs of about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. No chance of rain. These cars don't have rain compatibility yet, maybe a little bit farther down the line. Track temperatures at 91 Fahrenheit, so these racers certainly have a boatload of grip to help them along on this very challenging racetrack here today.
Maybe they've put it on April Fool's Day so that if they're wrong, which forecasts, to be fair, 6 months out from the time often are, then they can say it's just a joke. So there you go.
That's a good mindset. I like that.
It's a good safety net, isn't it? Gullickson very close through turn 2 this time. Closest he's been perhaps all race, certainly in the last 8 laps or so. He's got to give it a go, I think. Otherwise, he's never going to pass him. And so he will look to the outside. Castro has been constantly on this line of and he's not gone very far on the outside there, Gullickson. Castro would have given him the room. Gullickson would have had the room on the outside, but he just tentatively backed out of it. And that was a pretty tame effort at trying to take the race lead.
I think Havard Gullickson may be seeing the bigger picture, thinking, okay, P2 may not be as sweet as the victory, but it's a heck of a lot sweeter than dropping down, maybe even outside the top 5 if he went wide heading all through there. I mean, in the first 2 laps, we saw 4 separate drivers have moments where they overshot the braking zone down to turn number 4 quite a lot and lost out on a boatload of time. So I wonder if that's a reason why Gullickson maybe decided to take it easy. With 2 laps left to go, though, I do want to draw attention to the driver's slot in 4th. That being Brian Odo. He has closed up that gap. It's still about 1.5 seconds, so he would need a pretty big gust of wind, so to speak, need the wind direction to change in this race for him to really catch up. But Odo's just been quietly running into some pretty good times, and may try and catch up these racers in the not too far off future if they really start to battle hard.
Yes, his first time in the top split, first time probably trying as well this season, as again Gullickson goes to the outside. Will he be braver this time? Later on the brakes? No, he keeps backing out of it there. Castro went a bit deeper, to be fair to him this time, and he's gone for the cutback. Much more committed Gullickson this time. On the outside at turn 5, though, it's very steeply uphill, and that does not help. Gullickson on the outside couldn't get anywhere. I guess there's one more lap and one more chance to come. He's got to be braver on that outside.
Yeah, we'll really see what the mindset is for Havard Gullickson. Is he going to go all in, all or nothing, put all the chips on red and see if it does, and hope that it doesn't come up black? Or is Gullickson maybe just going to say, you know what, I'm happy running in P2. I'm not going to risk this too much. I'll go for a move just for the heck of it, but hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I wonder what Gullickson is going to do, as we are on that white flag lap. One more lap of racing action here at Mid-Ohio. Andre Castro has been dominant, but Gullickson has been quietly sitting in the background for a while, about a half a second the gap, as they head their way down to turn number 2 for the last time.
He's nowhere near as close this time, Gullickson, and unless Castro makes a mistake, it's going to be very hard for him to pass from back here. Peter even needs closer to making a move himself, actually, and Gullickson's got the slipstream of Castro to help him on, keeping second position, but even he is not that far away. Wonder whether he'll do to Gullickson what Gullickson should have done to Castro. Well, he won't have the chance to go on the outside anyway, and a little bit of slipstream there for Gullickson just helps him stay in front.
Yeah, so in this race, Andre Castro has done everything that he needed to do. After missing out on a couple of races a little bit earlier on in this championship, he's looking to have a big rebound now in the second half to catapult himself back up into a spot where he can genuinely make a run at getting back-to-back championships here in the Radical Esports Cup, and he's only a few turns away from scoring win number 3 in these 2100 GMT broadcasted races.
Checker flag comes out, and Andre Castro wins from lights to flag. Barely a challenge, barely a finger laid on him in this race. And Andre Castro wins here at Mid-Ohio and takes his 3rd victory of our broadcasted races here this season. Further back, Andreas Friedrich came under pressure towards the end there from Getzel Larsen, Sebastian Lipp, but they finish as they are. Gullickson just in behind, and even he just behind as well. Not a single position changing, I don't think, actually, in the last 10 laps or so there, but that race wasn't without tension.
Yeah, it was a very tense one for these racers as they tried to keep it on the road, keep it within the white lines, and make sure that they wouldn't find the barriers here at this very challenging Mid-Ohio sports car course. Everybody coping with the challenge brilliantly throughout the race. So well done to those racers for keeping it on the road and keeping it clean.
Absolutely. But in the end, it's Andre Castro who takes the victory. In the end, by just about half a second in front of Havik Gullickson, and therefore takes our championship standings lead, by the way, Castro, by just a point. Peter even he's staying in touch with them in those standings, by the way. He picks up a 3rd place finish, his 2nd podium of our broadcasted races this season. Rhino 4th, and Andreas Friedrich continues his run of point scoring finishes. That's top 10 finishes. He's the only driver to have had top 10s in every single week. In our races. Kittel Larsen, 6th ahead of last week's winner of this race, Sebastian Lipp. Denis Kyriakopoulos, George Gonzaga and Heinz Braun round out the top 10, with Chris Wetz, Jack Dunkovic and Enrico Trenti outside of the top 10 in the end. Let's have a chat to the race winner, shall we? Andre Castro, who joins us now. Andre, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Your 3rd victory in the races we've broadcasted here this season of the Radical Esports Cup. That one wasn't all action at the front, but it was tense. How was it from inside the car?
I think it was uncomfortable the whole time. I was never really that comfortable, just kind of skating around. It kind of felt like, Nelson Piquet's old quote of feeling like riding a bicycle through your living room. It kind of felt like that. It just didn't really come together for it to be as fluid as some of the other races I've done. But luckily, Havard raced really clean, and I've had some really good fights. It just the draft kept him close. I mean, he was quick anyway. Honestly, he could have stayed there without the draft, but it was enough to get him alongside me. But the straights weren't long enough for him to kind of get by as long as I protected the inside. So yeah, it was not my cleanest drive, but worked out in the end.
Yeah, you say that it was always going to be very difficult for him to pass you, even with you, because you were keeping the inside like that. But to be fair to him, he didn't actually try and go around the outside at turn 3 at any stage. He backed out and went for the cutback on both occasions in those late laps when he had that move. What do you think would have happened if he'd have tried to go around the outside like that? Was he always going to run out of room there, or could that have worked?
I think it could have worked, but I mean, with the tendency of this car is to kind of push, and I feel like if you're on the outside there, I don't know if he could have gotten the rotation. He would have really had to nail it there, and I probably would have had to brake a little bit early, and yeah, it would have been difficult, but I don't know. We'd have to run it back again and see how it would go. I don't think he ever really, with the cutback, it was not gonna work, but either way it would have been tough. But yeah, it was good to get the BS hybrid car another win. I think last week I got 0 laps of practice and had a pretty terrible performance, so I just wanted to come back this week and do a good job. So it was good.
We certainly did. 8th last week to 1st this week. Congrats on that, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you both, and thanks to the RaceSpot team and iRacing, and yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Thanks so much. Andre Castro, winner tonight from Mid-Ohio in the Radical Esports Cup in front of Havik Gullickson, who we can now chat to as well. Havik, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Was that a frustrating few laps there, especially at the end as you couldn't find your way fast?
A bit frustrating, of course, but I knew how this race would be. Just happy to do a decent quali and a good start, so I could try to keep on Castro. But yeah, it's impossible to pass if the other guy is as quick as yourself. So yeah, I'm happy with P2, the same as last week.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's a couple of P2s in a row. Do you feel there was, anything else you could have done there other than go to a new circuit? Because it was difficult to overtake, as you say. But then again, we didn't see you properly go side by side through turn 4 with Castro. But maybe because you knew it wasn't going to work. But was there anything else you could have done?
No, I don't think so. Because he's been around some years, so he doesn't stress much. If it was a more rookie player driver, it would be easier to I don't know the English word, but to joke him on the other side. So, but Castro drove perfectly and impossible to pass.
Well, congrats on bringing home the second place. Either way, have it for the second week in a row, indeed. And thanks for coming to chat to us at the end, as always.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have Gullikson second place for the second week in a row. And slips just a point behind Castro in our own standings, so they're very close. Although I don't think they'll know or care. We care though. So there we go. Ryan Odo finished in 4th tonight on a return to the series. Ryan, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your first appearance in one of our broadcasted races we've seen you in this season, and it was a 4th place. How did you find the race?
Yeah, I think it is the first time this season. I'm frustrated with the 4th place. I feel like I could have done better, but given the fact that I messed up my second qualifying lap and started in 10th, I'm pretty happy that I gained 6 positions and kept very consistent. I'm pretty sure all my laps were within 0.2 of a second on this track that felt like driving on ice.
Just what are the difficult parts of this circuit in one of these cars? Because we were talking about it in commentary a little bit. It does go up and down a little bit, this circuit, and it's a bit unusual in some ways as well. But what were the difficult parts?
Yeah, this car does not apparently like the huge hills on this corner or on this track, and just constantly is upsetting the cars. I felt like I was driving on ice because almost half the time I was having to steer in the other way to counter-correct the car and make sure I didn't end up in the barrier, which unfortunately happened on my second qualifying lap. I ended up in the barrier. But yeah, this car I definitely liked it. It was most definitely different from other tracks, and it's a very, very challenging track as well.
Absolutely. Well, congrats on taming that and finishing in 4th place tonight, and hopefully we'll see you at another race in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Ryan, who finishes 4th tonight in his first appearance this season in the Radical Esports Cup. Well, Ron, the plot thickens as far as the championship is concerned. Andre Castro and Havard Gullikson in our points will be 1 and 2 now. Castro to the gut by just a point, but they really reached a stalemate here today. It was tense, but there wasn't too much overtaking going on up front.
Yeah, the tension was high from the drop of the green all the way through to the fall of the checkered, and expecting the same sort of deal as we head off to the Hockenheim ring for the next round of the championship. That was a really challenging race for the season finale back in Season 3, so expecting to kick off the month of November as those two continue to duke it out for these race wins, and we get closer and closer into championship time here from this iRacing season.
Absolutely. It's Hockenheim coming up next week. Week 8 of the championship. That will take place same time, same place, 2100 GMT as always in these Radical Esports Cup races. But be wary around the world with clocks changing back and forth and whatever, that this broadcast may be at a slightly different time in your area compared to what it is normally, because the iRacing clocks in-game do not change, just for your information. That's just about it from us tonight, though, here on Racebot TV and the iRacing YouTube channel in our coverage of the Radical Esports Cup in Season 4 of 2025. I've been Jon O'Leary alongside Ron Miles with Romero Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. We'll all be back next week at the Hockenheim ring. Hope you will be as well. Until then, it's goodbye for now.